afternoon, good night. How you doing? This is MCM and you're listening to You're Probably Right. Today we are going to have a serious conversation. Well, maybe not a serious conversation, but there's going to be a serious talk happening here. Now, of course, I'm only doing the talking, but just stay tuned. Hello, y'all. This is MCM, and you are listening to You're Probably Right podcast. And yes, my voice sounds a little bit strange. It's because I've been under the weather of late, which is cool with me, but I probably just sound like a different host. But I mean, that's okay. So, we got an interesting episode for you today. I think I'm going to call it Happy New Year's, Happy Valentine's, Happy Birthday, and everything in between. You know, I'm thinking about life and how it changes. How these so-called celebrations can, I guess, have more meaning for some people, but I'm more focusing on the other side of life. When all these celebrations that you look forward to as a kid growing up, if you came from a regular nuclear mother, father, sister, brother, or maybe you're just mother, father, and you type of family, or even just one parent, and maybe a few kids or one kid. But whatever it was, with all the hope, with all the aspirations and dreams, the magicalness of Christmas that kids grow up with, wondering if there really is a Santa Claus or an Easter Bunny, or for those who grew up in church, wondering about baby Jesus. Wondering, about Jesus who died on the cross for their sins. And that would bring me into a nice little segue to remember that this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. It is a podcast by a Christian, but I do not call it a Christian podcast because I'm not sticking to scripture. I don't have my Bible open to certain scriptures to validate anything that I'm saying. It's just me, and I'm just talking to you. It's just us two. Unfortunately, the person you're listening to today has a somewhat of a hoarse throat, but hey, it is what it is. So, anyhow, this is basically how we're talking today, I guess, and I was just considering situations in life. Now, take me, for instance. We just finished a Thanksgiving. Actually, we haven't really got to it yet, but I preempted it by a day, I guess. But, making the turkey or making the ham, if you eat ham, without certain family members, and I'm sure some people or many people have experienced this, there's certain people in your family who are, your immediate family. And I can't say, obviously this isn't for all. This is for the average person who grew up, I would even say, with two parents and with siblings, or maybe just one parent and siblings, or people who made birthdays special, or people who made Christmas special, or Easter special, or Valentine special, or anniversaries special. You know what I mean? Like all those things that you yearly actually looked forward to because there was some sort of something in the year. I'm not going to say it's magical, and I realize that a lot of the magicalness of Christmas is the stuff that was brought on by society and Hollywood and Christmas movies and all that stuff. And 42nd or 40, what is it, 43rd, I can't remember what it was called, 34th Street, I think, Christmas on 34th Street, and A Christmas Story, and for maybe younger adults and kids, Home Alone, and all that stuff, where the magic of Christmas, and it's actually wonderful to do something for someone at this time of year, and all that stuff, and the magicalness of Santa Claus. And it was always so twisted within Christmas. And then you'd get them doing some little Christmas play with the baby Jesus and Joseph and Mary and the three wise men and the you know what I mean, little drummer boy stuff. But what I'm saying is, what I've learned getting older, that, as I said, there are certain people in your lives that when those people leave, the so-called magic goes away too. And it's strange. I think personally, when I used to think about my birthdays, I can say that my 12th birthday was kind of strange. There wasn't much celebrating happening around, and it kind of felt, I don't know, can't say boring. I mean, I didn't really do anything, but it was more than just boring. It was like, this is a birthday without anybody really caring. And I can't even remember if anybody remembered to say happy birthday, or it might have been a dry happy birthday from someone like my sister, probably, who generally would never forget anything like that. It almost bugged me sometimes, and she'd be the only person to remember. And usually the person who couldn't really buy me anything because she didn't have anything to give me, but she'd always try to remember that one thing. Well, celebrations on a whole. But as I think, and I don't know what day has just come or gone or is about to come in your life, but if you're listening to this episode, maybe you're thinking along the lines of, man, it's just not the same celebration anymore. And again, that's what I'm thinking of, that person, that glue that makes that certain celebration feel special, feels noteworthy. Maybe you have to bake a turkey, and maybe the person who would give you scrutiny to let you know whether it was right or not right is not there to taste it. It's kind of like for those people who finally became somewhat of a success after, say, their parents, who they're always trying to impress, are passed away, and you realize that accomplishment doesn't mean much, or as much, or maybe for some nothing at all, that now that you can't say, here's my diploma, here's my certificate, here's my license, my driver's license even. Like, there's certain accomplishments that certainly don't mean as much when those people who are glue in our lives, who make doing stuff important, when they're not there anymore, it's kind of just a thing. Unless, of course, you find other people who those things mean something to. Although a lot of us out here, we only look for the validation from certain people. So even if, let's just say, your person used to be your dad, and then now that they're gone, not in your life anymore for whatever reason, and let's say gone, because some people, when they're not in your life, a lot of us will still reach out and mail a picture or email a picture or whatever it is, text a picture and say, hey, I did it. And even if you didn't get an answer back, you know that that email or that text or that message got to that individual. And even if they didn't say congratulations, or they gave you congratulations and it was just seemed so dry, at least they saw it. But let's say the person's gone, dead gone, or out of your life, whereas you have no contact, so you have no way of showing them. And even though those people a lot of time would hope some way or someday in there that the person might come back and look at it. But I'm talking about, think about the people who are literally just dead and not here anymore. And you get into a relationship, you get married, whatever, and you have a spouse now, or you have kids, and it's still not that same for a lot of people, because you're the people you choose and hopefully the people you help create that are in your life, say a husband, or say a wife, say your children, you kind of chose them to be in your life. Whereas a sibling, you have no choice in the matter. A parent, you have no choice. They're just your parents. And for many of us, when you get that A on a test and you show it to a spouse, it's like, hey, cool, yay, that's good, you did a great job. And it might mean a lot, sort of, but it's different when that parent, that grandparent, that person that you've been trying to impress since you have known yourself is not there. It's kind of like how happy a child feels when they take their first few steps and mom or dad are there to cheer them on, and you could see that exhilaration no matter how young the child is, or they did their first dance recital. And it's a big difference, or a piano recital, or singing contest, or talent contest, or hockey game. There's something different about those things when you have one of those glue people, I'll say, there to watch it happen, to see you walk across that stage, to see the referee raise your hand, to see the judges lift 3 or 4 tens in a row or whatever, or to declare you a winner over the PA system, or to flash your name on a digital card or something like that. And when you see it and you're happy, but there's usually some people or someone that were there really, really trying to impress them. We've been trying to impress them for a long time. When those people are gone, all these things lose their shine a little bit. That turkey, that ham loses its savoriness. That decorated house, although you have the best things you've ever had to do that, just don't seem to matter all that much. That new job that has promised you an extra $30,000 a year doesn't seem to matter as much as it did when that parent, that sibling, are gone. Now, I don't know, I didn't ask you to, and many of you can't. I'm not going to say it. Imagine I told you to close your eyes and then you're driving down the road and you actually close your eyes and crash into something. That'd be wild. But that'd be horrible. But what I'm trying to say is, if you could just kind of, hopefully, I don't know if your mind was kind of running while I was giving you these examples, and I know I'm not rushing it. So as the ideas come to me, I'm just reminiscing, reminiscing over times I played, say, football, and we won the North York Championships in high school. And although it wasn't OFSA, it wasn't any big region, but we had to beat a few teams. Or the day maybe you made an amazing move on the basketball court like I did, and the whole school was going crazy, and I couldn't tell if it was because I actually scored a basket or if it was because of the move that I did. But I remember the excitement, for instance, of a time like that in basketball. And it was amazing because the whole school was cheering. But as time went on and I did different things, and then I realized that none of my parents ever saw me play any sport. Ever. My dad used to sometimes come over. My mom would come home sometimes and see me skating really fast down the street on rollerblades. But I'm like a grown man by now. And out of the corner of your eye, maybe playing basketball in the driveway, you'd be like, look, but they don't know what's going on. But as you get older, maybe you see your kids play something or do something in front of school. You reminisce and you say, it might have been just a little bit more better if one of them were there to see me do that stuff. Or now that you're baking a turkey for Thanksgiving or Christmas, or maybe you never even usually would do that because maybe the person who's your glue would have been the person to bake it, or maybe you finally got your opportunity maybe once or twice and they really appreciated it and really thought you did a really great job. And now, not only are they not here to do that thing for you at that time, but even if you take on the responsibility, let's say baking a turkey or making a cake or decorating a house or cutting a lawn with stripes or making the best botanical garden or vegetable garden, they're not there to say, wow, how did you get your zucchini so big, or your squash, it's so amazing and colorful, and how come the tomatoes are so large? Like, you might have done the best you could ever think of ever doing, or maybe even better than they did it, and they're not there to show it to. Life changes, and it's sad. When life happens and you run out of people to impress, it's almost like, what's the point? And not necessarily what's the point of life, but all these little celebrations, all these little things that you thought were so important. It's kind of like having an anniversary without your spouse there. It's like, yeah, you can celebrate it, but they passed on. Or yeah, you can remember the date in your mind, but you got a divorce and they're with someone else now. So a lot of those memories that you had for that date, for that time, for that particular time of year, although the date is the same, your relationship to the person who's passed on, or the person who's left you, or you've left them, that relationship has changed. So it changes that significance, if you understand what I'm saying. Anyhow, here's a couple of questions along the lines of, I guess for some people who are like more of a lone wolf, or a person who's off to the side somewhere by themselves most of the time, and relationships and things have changed. So I'm just gonna ask 10 or answer 10 quick questions. I don't know what the questions are, so here goes nothing as we enter halfway point in our 19th minute on this podcast of me pretty much just rambling on. What is your favorite memory from past celebrations, if any? I think in most cases, even though I would say I'm somewhat of an introvert, I'm kind of closed off as far as most of my emotions, unless I'm just upset. The hustle and bustle around the house, the action, the energy of something happening. And sometimes it was just all of us running around trying to clean up because one or two people are coming over, and My mom wants the house to be, wanted to be just so, you know? And I guess for me, those two glue people, I guess it's not, yeah, when I look at it, it's not just one, you know? And like my mom and my dad have both passed, and my sister, who I shared most times with because we were so close in age, and they're all three gone. But I realized, like, you know, I had a brother as well, and it's not the same because he was most of the time never around when those things were happening. He was so old and older than me, and stopped doing his own nonsense that he was there, it wasn't there. It might have bugged me 1 year, but after that I got used to it. So I think just the energy, there's a certain energy that when a bunch of people are together for one reason, it made those times more important. And yeah, I could look at like a celebration, like an anniversary, or, you know, Valentine's or something, and I guess I could look at those in some ways. But I mean, it's different. Valentine's, for some people, some spouses, is like, oh, it's just another day for society to pull on the pockets of poor people, and these days don't mean anything like a Father's Day, a Mother's Day, or Valentine's Day. So, you know, depends. I mean, some of these days meant something to some people when they're with some certain people, and sometimes when they're with you, they don't mean anything because they're already jaded. So sometimes you have to go back to your childhood, and that's if you had a happy childhood in that way, because many people didn't have a happy childhood, or many people didn't live with their parents, or, you know, or they had a rough childhood with their parents. For me, I had both parents, and a lot of the stuff outside of the home wasn't that great and wasn't that memorable, but at home was different because that was my place, and, you know, I mattered there to those people. So yeah, some of that stuff was really important to me. So I just remember the whole energy of the times, you know. I never forget when I actually got what I wanted on, I think it was like my 11th Christmas when I was 11, and I think it was a pair of boots. What were the boots? They had it's funny, they had these beads in the laces. They were cougar boots, and the beads that they used to use for the laces actually became, well, they were I think the same beads that a lot of girls used to put in their hair. If they had cornrows and stuff back in the day, they put like 3 or 4 at the bottom. For some reason, these shoes had them on the laces, and I just thought these were the coolest boots. And my mom must have overheard me, or I don't know how she really found out that I wanted those boots, because I know I never said it to her. But the joke is that she came home from shopping one day, and she just put the bags on her side of the bed in my mom and my dad's room. And for some reason, when I knew she was gone, I went and I snuck and I went to look, and I saw the boots. I'm like, what? I'm getting these boots? It was like so amazing. And I know, as I digress here, but I remember and I also saw an amazing. It was like Tecmo Bowl. It was a football game where I learned how to cheat the system and score ridiculous amounts of points on the football game. But both these things were given to me that Christmas, and that was, for me, the most memorable, because it's like I literally got exactly what I wanted. And there was no hints given. There was nothing that I said to anybody. I'm sure maybe a sibling said it to them, or maybe they saw me watching a commercial one day and I didn't realize they were paying attention, but somehow my mom was able to get the exact boots that I wanted, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And the funny thing was, in the commercial for the boots, a kid that went to my school named Todd Woodcroft, I don't think he's listening, but he was actually in the commercial for these cougar boots. And I was like, I want these boots. And then this guy that I went to school with was actually the actor in the commercial for the boots. So that was crazy as well. But yeah, these are the things that I remember. I remember wearing the boots for the first time, and I had to go up to the store, the variety store, and for some reason it was open. Well, I can say why it was open, but as our society got more and more ungodly, I went to the store and there was no rain. Remember, these are winter boots, and I think the temperature was probably somewhere around 7 degrees, and it was raining, and there was green grass still showing on Christmas Day, but I still wore the boots. And that's actually the last time I remember actually wearing the boots, was the first day. It's crazy how that works. So yeah, that answers that question, I'm pretty sure, pretty thoroughly. Do you miss the social aspects of holidays or just the idea of it? For me, the idea. And that's why my memory with those boots doesn't really go past that day, because they didn't matter after that. It's like you had a desire, you had something you wanted. All the regular hustle and bustle was going on around that day because it was a Christmas. Don't remember. I remember what I got. I remember the situation that surrounded what I got and how I got what I wanted without actually saying anything, and who got it for me. But I don't remember anything much after that. But I know that I was happy. So for me, I guess it was just the idea of receiving something from someone that was important around a time that was important, that was said to be important. You know? How do you spend your time during wildly celebrated events like New Year's or Valentine's Day? Don't do much. And for certain years, I've sadly slept them away. You know, let's get to the next day as soon as possible. Then I don't have to think about it. I don't know how sad that is, but yeah, it is what it is. What do? You know, if there's a day, let's say your whole family will be celebrating somewhere and you haven't been invited. What do you do on those days? Do you find somebody else to spend those times with? I remember one year, it was one of the first that, life got a little topsy-turvy, I would say, for me. It was a Christmas. And I was destined to pretty much spend it alone. Kids were on the other side, like with the other side of the family. I just went and saw 2 movies. And I can't remember. One was one of the Lord of the Rings movies, probably the second 3 set. And then the second movie, because I watched 2, so it took up my whole day. I didn't get home till like 10:30, 11. Was Django Unchained. So that year when that came out. And because I was a movie buff or really, really into cinema, and the reason why I was really, really into cinema is that if it was a really good story and it could take me off to another time and place, then I could walk out of reality for a little bit. And that was my escape. Some people escape into a book and have to use a lot of their brain power to imagine, what's happening, the visuals in the book and everything, and depending on how good the author was. But of course, watching a movie, I didn't have to do all that because the visuals were there, the sounds were there, the music was there, the relationships, and everything, sights and sounds, everything is like taken care of for you. Not much imagination. You just gotta forget where you are for that hour and 2 or hour and 40 minutes to 3-hour movies. Like, it's just amazing for me anyway. It was. Yeah, next question. Don't know how many of these I'm going to do. I have 10. I don't know if I'm going to go through the whole 10. 4. What makes you happiest now compared to when you were more socially involved? I think I value these things more for those that maybe I'm the glue or the person who is responsible for making the fun or the food. So although I'm not a party animal. I'm not the party guy. I'm not the middle of I'm not the main dude. The lights aren't shining on me kind of a person, but I just do what I can do. I mean, really, I realize that my kids are going to have a different experience with these things than I am, or that I had, because life's different and society's different and I'm a different person and family's different, family makeup's different. But I realize you find yourself taking on more than you would have had to back in the day, or anybody would have wanted you to back then. But now you realize that you are responsible for the event or the fun, even if you're not fun. So who knows? Maybe my kids are looking forward to another time when they maybe have their little family. Maybe that's their thing. To do it right. But who knows? Do you feel lonely or do you enjoy the solitude? I look at it this way. Let's just say you were a person who liked to go up in the woods and camp out with a friend or a mate, I don't know, maybe a group of people or just you and your spouse. And then you traveled into the same woods, same type of place. Maybe the whole vast, huge, amazing surrounding of the woods where you would normally camp. Same exact place that you carved your name on a rock or in a tree. Still there. The memories are still there. But when you're actually there, it's like you're in a closet. It could be the biggest, vast, expanse of space that there could possibly be, but for some reason you feel like you're in a closet. Because sharing things with others is so much more important than I think many of us realize. Until, of course, it's too late. So that's my answer. How do you cope with societal expectations around celebrations and milestones? For me, I don't really care because I have my own expectations for these things. So I let people do what people do, you know? And if I can make it brighter for someone else who is still under the imagination that, you know, these days or these times are magical, if you can add to that happiness, that joy for those people, then I think you should add to it, because there's no telling when the joy of those situations, celebrations, times will vanish and will no longer exist even for those people who you were trying to brighten those days for. Is there a celebration or a tradition you would like to revive or start anew? I think I would like to put a little bit more effort into, I mean, if it's just going to be me and my kids, I think I'd like to put more into, say, a birthday or something like that, you know, one way or the other. How do your children view celebrations? Have they seen being influenced by your perspective? Sadly, I think so. I'll answer that last part. Yeah, I think that I've probably sullied that a little bit for them, and that's hence what I was saying for the last one. I think I'd like to do them up a little bit better. I'm not the party guy, but I would like to put more effort into it instead of having them look forward to the time when they could do these things the right way. It's just, it's kind of funny when you're, say part of a family who there is a party guy, or if you're a part of a marriage and your spouse is the party person, and you're just kind of like the come along, go along guy who, maybe you just take out the garbage or maybe you cook the meals, but you're not the facilitator of the happiness at the party. When you end up being both of those people, I think you have to put a little more effort. What advice, good old advice, what advice would you give someone who feels left out during celebrations? The simplest thing I would say, join in. If you feel left out, I would say take those times to make those times special for someone else. And I believe that's exactly what you can do for a lot of people. Obviously, for some people, it will be dead and gone or past. But for some people, I think you can brighten those things and you can become that glue for someone. How has the absence of immediate family changed your view on celebrations? Would you like to refine or let's see. My view is like someone once said, make hay while the sun shines, or make haste while the sun shines. Um my view is that when things are good, join in. And when things are not so good, no matter what the situation or the celebration or the day, see what you can to brighten somebody else's experience in that situation, because you never know when you are that person for some other person. So, my views, or the absence of those people, like I know there's not much you can do because you could get new people, I suppose, at some level. I haven't, so I can't really tell you if you ever, like, you can't really replace a mother or father. I guess you can replace a spouse, but we're all different people. So let's just say you even replace a spouse, chances are there's going to be something new about the new spouse that's not going to be exactly how the old spouse was, and there's going to be little quirks in that person, even if they were not so nice or whatever the situation is. There's going to be something that's just not going to be the same. As you get older, we tend to get more jaded. Magic of days tend to dissipate and not exist as much as when we were younger. I don't know, reality of life and mortality set in, and there's not much you can do no matter who's around, I suppose, unless you are trying to be that, I guess, for those other people, the maybe little people, younger people in your life. So there's nothing you can do. You can't bring anyone back, but as I said, you can be that someone for someone else. Anyhow, y'all, I will end it here. Thanks for coming out. This episode is number 160 of the podcast called You're Probably Right Podcast with me, your host, MCM. Thanks for coming out. Talk to you again. Hey, come check out You're Probably Right Podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 dogs. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, well, very few topics off the table. Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.